Greetings, geeks and nerds. I'm Leeds Universe and I'm White and Nerdy, and it's time to try to do this review again, as I did have it uploaded in January, and then it got quickly copyrighted for reasons that I'm confused about. Excuse me. And then I had to fucking switch it for Godzilla X Con instead. But let's try to do this again, and hopefully that this time everything will stick better. So I finally have gotten the chance to sit my ass down and talk about one of the highest grossing foreign films of last year, and also a film that won a freaking Academy Award for Best Visual Effects, and I can highly see why. Whether it won an Oscar or not, I have no idea. As I'm pre-recording this, I have no idea. Anybody can feel free to tell me in the comments down below. But I have finally gotten the chance to sit down and finally check out Godzilla Minus One. So this will be my review, retrospective, whatever you want to call it, upon Godzilla Minus One. So if nobody has seen Godzilla Minus One yet, just be forewarned that in this review there might be some spoilers. So if you haven't seen Godzilla Minus One, I recommend that you do so, then come back and watch this review. Otherwise, yes, unfortunately, there will be spoilers hidden within this review. The original Godzilla, directed by Ishiro Honda, was always meant to be a horror movie. Unfortunately, Godzilla has lost his roots of horror much throughout most of his life. Some incarnations remember the horror aspect of Godzilla, while others just completely ignore it altogether. When it came to Takashi Yamazaki, he wanted to go back to Godzilla's roots, with technically a reboot of the franchise. But unlike some of the predecessors that Godzilla had, specifically the 1998 version, which we never talk about for reasons. So, is Godzilla Minus One an actually worthy renewal of the franchise? Well, that's what I'm here to talk about today. Now, unlike some of Godzilla's other films, we have a good cast of characters that I'm actually going to talk about in this movie, even though we only have 3 that I want to focus on. Unlike Shin Godzilla, where it had multiple characters that you always had to focus on, this one does have a small cast of characters, but mostly I'm going to be talking about the main 3 that the movie had to offer, and basically what their kind of character arc is throughout the series, or mostly just one specifically. And then I will do everybody a favor by talking about the Big G himself and how he is basically more so of a horror figure. Yeah, Shin Godzilla did kind of get the horror aspect of him down, but nothing like this film had done. So just a reminder for people, we'll be talking about the main characters, or just main character, mind you, in this movie, his kind of character transformation. I'll try to not spoil it as much as possible, and then we'll be talking about this big guy here and about what he had basically brought onto the table, and then I'll give you guys my overall feelings and final rating toward the end of this. So, let's jump into Godzilla Minus One and see if it's a worthy reboot of the franchise. So, let's dig in. When the movie begins, we are introduced to Shikishima, a man that was supposed to be a Yamakaze pilot, but yet he chickened out at his own last minute for his own reasons. However, Shikishima is anything but a hero, as nobody looks at him as a hero, nobody wants to think of him as a hero, and he's not a hero just in his face entirely. But his life changes where he meets a nice woman named Noriko and a little girl named Akiko. Yes, Noriko and Akiko have nothing in common with each other. But the 3 of them make up their own little makeshift family, and that for the most part is pretty damn adorable, how the 3 of them are able to basically relate to one another and coexist with one another. But one thing that's consistent throughout the movie is that you see it mostly with Shikishima is that he has what's known as survivor's guilt, as he is very guilty that he has survived and no one else has. Which made it later on for his character arc that he would eventually change from this chicken into an actual hero for what he had done for his country, but I will not spoil that here. Shikishima is honestly the character that Yamazaki wants you to focus on. He's definitely the one that stands out more so than the rest. Of course, you have Akiko, that is definitely the most adorable little girl that you have ever witnessed, and Noriko is basically. They kind of set her up to be Shigashima's love interest, but that doesn't technically happen until later towards the ending, where you kind of get the feeling that they did have feeling for one another. But for the most part, she's mostly just his like roommate at first. But there is no hint at a relationship until basically towards the tail half of the movie. And definitely for Chikashima, they definitely want you to mostly notice his survivor's guilt, the fact that he had survived a horrible experience. He never talks about it really or give you full detail, but he gives you hints and details that he did not survive something that he doesn't want to talk about. He survived some horrible experience. And it's not necessarily just the atomic fire breathing monster over in the corner. There's something else that he has been involved with that he just doesn't feel like talking about, which I think is for the better to leave it in a mystery and to leave it to people's suggestions of what did he go through, what did he survive, and why doesn't he want to talk about it. And I think that's for the better, and I have to credit Yamazaki both as a director and writer to kind of leave us in mystery that, yeah, we don't need to know everything that he has went through, and that's all for the better. Which of course we have to talk about the atomic fire breathing monster that's sitting over in the corner, and what exactly that he had done to this movie. As I think next to the 1954 version, which is still by far top tier like movie making, especially since it holds up 70 years later, we gotta talk about the big atomic fire breathing monster in the room. So let's talk about the most terrifying version next to the 54 version of Godzilla that there is, which is Yamazaki's Godzilla. When we first see Godzilla on the island, he's a lot smaller than you anticipate, but he's just as terrifying as his major counterpart. But this is the first time that we actually see him in the movie. But that is until we see him later on, and he's just as terrifying as he is in the 1954 version, if not even more terrifying than the original. This is a Godzilla who will fuck your day up and not give a shit for doing so. He is just an absolute monster of destruction or God reincarnate. And especially the first time you see him using his atomic breath, oh dear God, it's probably the most terrifying scene throughout the entire movie of the destruction he can cause. Don't I got to admit the visual spectacles with Godzilla specifically are mind-boggling and how just gorgeous and good-looking that these scenes are. And yes, this movie does hold up and it's a really damn good film, but I do have to admit that there are some things I don't like about the movie. Yes, unfortunately, while I can praise the level-loving shit out of this movie for the great special effects, the terrific writing, the great and phenomenal cast decision, and of course, Yamazaki's own directing style, but unfortunately, I do have to address some of the flaws that this movie has. While it's great and amazing, unfortunately, there are still some flaws with this movie, and they comes in a few forms. One, I do not like how they got rid of or killed Godzilla in this movie, and it really goes to show you that like it's sort of dumb in a sense, like the way that they killed him. Now, their first decision, of course, was never going to work. But the second decision was having Shikishima basically kill the monster. It's like I get it. Godzilla is supposed to represent his survivor's guilt, and he looks at this in a monstrous form. So Godzilla representing his survivor's guilt, that's amazing of an idea to think of. But when he kills him, it just doesn't feel satisfying. It's like that's what you're going with. And I kind of thought the death scene of Godzilla in Shin Godzilla was kind of dumb. It's even kind of more so here than it was in Shin Godzilla. So good on you. You're even dumber than Shin Godzilla in this regard with that. kind of dumb is all I'm trying to say. And also, yes, the two hints that it gives us was one with Noriko kind of like maybe having atomic radiation. We see like a big black mark on her neck in a reveal, so it's like maybe she's suffering from atomic radiation from Godzilla because you got to remember Godzilla is like the Incredible Hulk. They're always admitting atomic or gamma radiation. Or you could also look at it as like maybe that like this is the way that Godzilla works and she's gonna become a villain. Just like one of my favorite episodes of Ultraman Tiga. You know, I credit Yamazaki, but I don't think he's gonna be that damn creative. Um but I do have to admit that the ending is the greatest thing in this movie. I've seen some reviews where people criticize the ending, and the one that stands out to me is Monster Island Buddies when he reviewed it, and he kind of said that the ending was pretty dumb, and I must agree that the ending is not what you were expecting. But is Godzilla Minus One worth watching? Absolutely, this movie is worth watching. This movie is breathtakingly gorgeous. It has a great cast, phenomenal directing, great special effects. It's worth your time watching. Now I'm gonna say this right off bat: Godzilla Minus One is definitely probably not for everybody, as you have to watch this movie with English subtitles because the entire movie is in Japanese. It's sort of like the same thing, which I pointed out when I did talk about the film numerous times. It's the same thing like watching Pan's Labyrinth. It's a decent movie. It's just that I don't think that it's going to be most people's cup of tea because the movie is entirely in Spanish, minus the subtitles. But if you're willing to look past that, you're going to have a decent time with this movie as it is really impressive. The special effects are a chef's kiss on top of an already delicious meal. And Yamazaki really did make a great cast of characters, and he was terrific in both writing and directing this movie. And whether he was the overseer of the visual effects, I have no idea, but he did a terrific job with everything in his regard to make it just as perfect as he can. And that is why my Funko Pop rating for Godzilla is going to be a Megazord, because it's something nostalgic, like you've seen this Godzilla movie before, but it has a few different little subtle changes to make you realize that you're looking at something brand new. So my Funko Pop rating of Godzilla Minus One is going to be a Megazord. As always, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, hit that bell icon so you be notified every single time I make an upload. But I will continue for type right new. I will continue for type right new to keep you on. And be sure to tell me what you thought about Godzilla Minus One in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Do you agree with my sentiments on it? Or do you disagree with my sentiments on it? Let me know in the comments down below. I'm eager to hear your suggestions and let me know if you're excited for a Godzilla Minus One sequel. Remember that Yamazaki had already admitted that there will be a Minus One sequel, which doesn't surprise me since this was the highest grossing foreign film of last year. So be sure to let me know in the comments down in the comments down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to help the channel and support it and watch it grow, the best way to do so is by liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, hitting that bell icon so you can be notified every single time I can upload. And if you want to talk with me, or just follow me and see what I'm working on, because sometimes I do behind the scenes stuff there, sometimes not. You can be sure to follow me at Twitter with the link in the description down below. But thank you guys so much for watching. I believe in you. Have what new to keep you on. And until next time, guys, and as always, take care.